It is 7 o'clock. We're working on a list. I did not have a list of all the candidates, so Linda is pulling them off for me. So I've got three positions here. What I will say is, before we start, just the same as when I used to run a town meeting or a school meeting, I expect you all to be civil, the remarks to not be derogatory or anything like that in either direction. So I ask you all to comply to that. And as I understand it, you have 3 minutes to say, introduce yourself, state why you're running for the office, and then after you have stopped, there will be time for questions. So with that, for candidates for selectmen, we've got Beth Boudreau. Is she here? Okay. If you would come up and take a seat here. And you'll notice that these mics are all live, so remember that. Babette Morrow. Is Babette here? Mike Smith. And Rick Wolf. So.
I saw a friendly face next to me.
Okay. You can determine among yourselves who will start first, and you have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I believe Northwood's ready for a change. For too long, we've read negativity in the Sun and on Facebook. I believe this is not about Republicans versus Democrats, conservatives or liberals, but about a community coming together for the greater good. We have seen our town lose valuable employees as they seek positions elsewhere. Then these positions remain vacant for far too long. Northwood has reached a crossroads where we must make changes to guarantee its future. We deserve to live in a community that comes together as neighbors, not as residents. We all know what it takes to make a good town. It's where you raise a family with good schools, with a quick response time from the police and fire departments. But what makes a town great? Is it our lakes? Is it new books at the library? Roads plowed so we can go to work safely? Recycling, thus leaving our town better off for our children? I believe it's these and more. I'm a little nervous. I have heard from many of our neighbors that the past few months our town has felt more like a community than ever before. On the Recreation Department, I have taken an active role in organizing various community building events where I have seen firsthand how desperately we yearn for this. Neighbors gathering together to watch a Santa parade or a trunk or treat or simply enjoying the town ice rink. These are just the first steps of many that will make our little town great. At the family winter day, one of our fellow neighbors said to me that she felt like she lived in a Hallmark movie town, gathered with many families all coming together to have fun. I want to live in that idyllic Hallmark town. It's not about raising taxes, it's about spending our tax dollars wisely, encouraging more small businesses to come to Northwood and supporting those we already have. We may be a bedroom community, but there's something special about living in a small New England town. This will be my first opportunity to work in town politics. I am eager to learn all about town government and am ready to serve as the voice of our community. I understand the role of a responsible leader takes diligence, dedication, and strong communication skills. I have these, I'm just a little nervous tonight, and the ability to make decisions that's in the best interest of Northwood, not of my own. I love our town and would appreciate your vote on Election Day.
Are there questions? Floor is open for questions.
Yes.
Yes, if you would use the mic, please. State your name.
My name is Ken Rick, and I have 3 questions.
Sure.
Or actually, not 3 questions. You opened your speech by saying that you feel that Northwood has gone a negative route. Can you name 3 negative things that come to your mind and you'll share it with us?
The articles in the Sun, whether it's for the town or the school. It's just a lot of negativity. There's some pages on Facebook, I'm not sure if you're on Facebook, but there's been a lot of negativity, especially saying that I wrote certain things, and those are not true. I have been living here for 26 years. I have been a volunteer. I work at the school. And then the other things are just people saying stuff around town, how, why can't people stay here? Why do we have so many vacancies, the police department, the fire department?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate your question.
Are there other questions? Yes. Use the mic and state your name.
My name is Mike Moore. As far as doing town business, would you encourage hearing from other citizens, or are you a person who prefers to make the decision on their own?
Oh, goodness, no. I want to be a voice for the people. I want to hear what you think. So I would take everyone's, decisions, bring it to the board.
Any others?
Following up on that question, and I'm Tom Chase. The selectman who's running, who's not here, I think, did not consult in any of the commissions or committees of the town in advance of the dismissal of the previous town administrator. I serve on the budget committee. We did not hear anything, nor were we consulted, and I'll ask Ginger if she wants to differ with that. I serve on the Conservation Commission. We were not consulted about that decision, and I would hope, and I'd like to hear from Mike also on this, is that something that if you were going to dismiss someone who's that integral to the administration of the town, is that something that you would consult with the various committees and commissions before doing behind closed doors?
I am on the rec commission, and I didn't have any information regarding his dismissal. I actually attended the selectmen meeting that night. It seemed a little odd, the meeting itself. I left here and I found out through the gossip chain that had happened. I don't know why he was let go. I would assume if it's like legalities, maybe no one should have known. I don't know the reasoning for that. I assume if it was not a legal situation, maybe commissions and committees should have had some input, but I don't know why.
Yes. State your name. I should ask you to state your address, too.
Linda Primus, Lower Deerfield Road, 201. I'm going to ask Beth and Mike as well. I don't know if you're speaking now or how it's going to work, but if you were to pick one or two things that you would really like to go for the town, either things that have started that you want to continue or new ideas that you have, what would the one or two things be that would make us want to vote for you?
I think really it's building back the sense of community. On the rec commission, we had made a subcommittee called the Friends of Rec, so we can seek grants and fundraise money to build a playground. My children are, all in their 20s and married off and don't even live in town. I think a playground would be nice, not just for children, but a place to go for picnics, play frisbee. I mean, adult walks, just things for the adults. Let's see, the TIF, I've read a lot about that. I think we need to bring small businesses into town. I'm not asking for Target. I do love Target, but I'm not asking for Target. Sorry. But I think we need to bring small businesses into town. Maybe ask local business that we already have. What can we do to make it easier to be a business in town? Thanks.
Other
Do
questions?
you want to answer that too, or do you want to wait?
I'll wait.
Okay, all right.
If not, you're finished. Okay, Mike, it's your turn. If you would introduce yourself and why you're seeking the office.
My name's Mike Smith. I'm married to Betty here. We've been married for 50 years. Been here in town for a little over 6.5 years, and we like it. We see there are places that can be improved on. I keep getting folks come up to me and ask me about certain things. I do tend to get involved. At the church over here, Northwood Congregational, I've been part of it as a trustee and doing work around it and things like that. We started, my wife and I, started the Thursday lunch that we put on for folks over here at the church. We have anywhere from 9 to 16 people come down and we feed them, and we managed to pull it out. We were sponsoring it for right initially, and then the folks said, hey, look it, we're eating it, we want to help, so they made us put up a donation basket, and it's been going along, and it gets, it's very nice. It's Thursday at lunchtime if anybody's interested. When we got to town, I found out about the Beanhole Bash, so we started going to the meetings and that, and I've been involved in that now since, well, 4 years now, coming up on 5 years, coming on 6, okay. They kind of run together when you're having a lot of fun, and believe me, it is a lot of fun. And to see the look on the folks' faces when they come through the line and they have their beans and everything, it's great. And so that's a good thing to do. And some of the things that we've done, or a couple of the things that we've done, for you folks that remember Thor, from the monies from the bash, we bought Thor a safety vest. Thor is our police dog that we had at the time, and we got a vest for Thor, and it worked out real well. Right now, if you go into the library and you look straight ahead on the back wall as you get in, you'll see there's an AED in there, automatic electronic defibrillation machine. The Beanhole Bash paid for that. We thought it was a right thing to do, so we voted on it and did it. And
We've got 1 minute left.
I'm also a driver for Ready Rides. It's an organization here in town where we give rides to medical appointments and things like that. The town itself is a beautiful town. We need some work, and it's going to get to a point where we're going to need more and more participation. And this is where I figure I'm pretty good at. I'm a registered Democrat. However, I believe the way Maine used to carry on business when we had George Mitchell and Bill Cohen. One was Republican, one was Democrat, and they were always reaching across the aisle to one another and saying, hey, this is what we need to do to get this done. And it worked out real well. And I'm for that. And I don't.
He shushed you.
3 minutes are up.
Okay.
If the group wants to hear more, I will let them. Okay?
Yeah.
You're open to questions. They're already worked.
Okay,
on.
and
If those people would present their question again, that would be good. Mrs. Kramus, I think you had a question.
Would you mind answering the question of what 1 or 2 things you think that should be worked on the most for the town?
well, I'm not saying the town is desperate, but there's a lot of things. One of the items is our transfer station. There's a bunch of items down there. If you read the Sun, Vina has a lot of stories to tell about how we can improve that. And that's a good source of information. And I would say come to the transfer station and don't call it a dump. And talk to her about it, and you can get some ideas. The other question?
Somebody else has another question. Would you use the mic, please?
Okay, Mike Moore, Janice Pond. My question was your kind of style on whether you were open to getting a lot of input from people, or whether you thought, you know, that you could do better than the rest of the...
That's a necessity. You need to have input from your constituents so that you can do the job right. Or it may not entail doing the job that they want to have done, but explain to them why it shouldn't be done at this time or when it could be done. So that's an important factor. You got to talk to the people. Got to have information flowing back and forth.
Are there other questions? Yes. Up here, and then-
Hi, I'm Keith McGuigan, Kelsey Mill Road. First of all, I just want to thank you both for coming out here tonight. I think it really shows your commitment to the job, and I really appreciate you being here and answering questions for us. I just have a simple question for both of you. We have a warrant article on the ballot this year to expand the selectmen to 5 members. I'm just wondering what your feelings are on that.
You went first, Nina.
Okay. I did actually sign the petition. I thought it was worth looking into. I think anytime people want to help the community, they should have that choice. I guess we'll all decide together. My vote will be the same as everyone else's vote here in the room. But I know other towns it seems to be working.
I signed the petition also, and I didn't sign it just to be a follower. I signed it because it needed to be looked into. It was brought up by our constituents, you folks, and it needs to be looked at. I think it's kind of a safeguard, and I think that's the way it was presented, and I like that. So it's now in the hands of the voters, so.
Yes, you had a question?
Sandy Piolo, First New Hampshire Turnpike. I'd like to ask both of you the same question. This is a 3-year term. It's a long 3-year term. It means that at least 2 board meetings a month, and in usually November, December, sometimes January, it's every week, sometimes twice a week. Then you're also going to be asked to serve on the selectmen's rep to certain boards. There'll be 2 or 3 of them, another night out a week. The off week with the selectmen, these 2 selectmen have to be in here to review the manifest and sign it before 10 o'clock on Wednesdays. So that means another time in here. You'll be have to be answering phone calls from things, whether their mailbox got hit, whether there's a pothole. There has to be things. You'll have to be available sometimes to come right to the town hall because things happen during the day. And I was wondering, are you aware of all the duties of the selectmen? And do you think you can fulfill those duties for the next 3 years? Thank you.
Could you state your name and address, please?
Sandy Priolo, First New Hampshire Turnpike.
Want me to go first?
Sure.
I don't have any problem with it at all. I'm retired. I'm retired from both the Navy and my working life out there at a job. I look forward to it. I do not have all the answers, and I do not know all the parts of the job. It'll be a work in progress, a learning experience. I don't think anybody who has not done it before, and I have not, will be able to jump in and get his feet wet without making some kind of mistakes. I'm human, and I put my pants on one leg at a time, and I think that I can do a good job for you.
Good answer. I certainly will do my best. I have looked into some of the responsibilities of a selectman. I think I can do that. I do have a job, but I believe the other selectmen also have a job. I don't think because I have a job that's a bad thing. I know how to manage my time pretty wisely. I am okay with having takeout more than twice a week. If something has to go, it could be laundry and cooking. But I think I can do a really good job. I think I deserve a chance to try at least.
There is one other thing like we can add. We've both checked it out with our spouses, and we got a thumbs up.
We
so.
did. She's cooking for me, or he's cooking for you guys, whatever.
Other questions? Anyone? Yes?
Hi, my name's Glenn Brackett. I live on 278 Breaks Hill Road. First of all, thank you both for standing up to serve your community. It takes a lot of courage to put your name on a ballot, so I appreciate that. My concern is this. My wife and I, Shirley, we have three concerns. Property taxes, property values, and more importantly, public education in the community. Currently in the State House today, there's legislation that will give private school vouchers paid for by taxpayers, Senate Bill 193. My question for both of you is, will you support Senate Bill 193 that will take taxpayer money to pay for private education?
I think I'm going to rule that out of order. This is not a school board meeting. This is not a meeting on the warrant. And I don't think it's fair to ask them if they are going to support legislation. If you want to ask them if they are willing to use taxpayer dollars, but I don't think it's going to be the selectmen's decision. I don't think that'll come before the selectmen. It'll come before the school or the town at election.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. But there is a representative of the select board that serves on the school board, correct?
Excuse me?
There are select board representatives on the school board, so it will possibly come.
Not on the school board. No.
Not on the school board?
They are not.
There was a time you could write letters to your local representatives.
At the time when the budget is considered, there will be a selectman for the school budget. On the budget committee, there will be a select representative, as there will be a school board representative before the budget committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. May I be allowed to rephrase my question?
Excuse me?
May I be allowed to rephrase my question to that?
Yes, you can.
In general, personally, do either of you support taxpayer money going to private school education?
I actually did write 2 letters, both to our representatives in town, not supporting it, only because there's not enough information for that. It worries me that some money, there's just too many what-ifs, so I think before they make a decision, they probably should have more answers to those what-ifs.
I feel the same way. The using schools and education for vouchers, letting children go to a higher form of education, it separates people. It puts people in classes. And I don't think it's a fair way of doing it. If the parents can afford it and pull it off for the children, fine and dandy. I don't think it should be a burden for the tax system, the town or what have you, to support that.
Thank you both for your answer. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
But I would encourage you to talk to the 2 representatives of Northwood.
I have on multiple occasions.
Oh, okay.
They're not listening to. They're not listening to us.
No, I feel it.
And by the way, our state senator is not listening to us either.
Well,
Thank you for your questions, though.
Other questions? If not, we'll move on. You can.
Did it. Thank you so much.
Now, the next one is moderator Hal Kreider. he said he had a 6-page speech ready. So he's unopposed, but he is here and he would like to address you. So we'll give him the opportunity. Mr. Kreider.
Thank you, Robbie.
Oh, you've got to come up front. You've
Oh.
got to be where they can throw stuff at you.
A seat of honor.
And there's a trap door under it if you take it.
And you can come up here, and I've got 3 ladybugs up here now, so you can tell who's buggy.
Anyway, thanks for letting me speak, and thank you for letting me address you. I just want to say I was moderator for the last 6 years, and I really enjoyed it. And really, I wanted to say thank you for everybody that supported me in doing that. It's very challenging to just step in there following Robbie, and without the help of people like, in particular, Judy Pease and others like her, it would have been a very tough job. So thank you for supporting me, and please vote for me at the election.
Give them an opportunity. Does anybody have a question?
I just, to the moderator, Robbie, Tom Chase,
And your address.
06 Catamount Road. Can this count for both the moderator of the school district meetings as well as the town meetings?
I think he's only up for town this year. I think
No,
school
it's
is next year.
it's
Are you
both.
up for both this year?
It starts
It is both this year? One is a 2-year term and one is a 3-year term.
Right.
So it doesn't always, but he is, if he's running for both this year.
Good for both?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It starts another basically 6-year cycle.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, you can leave now. Police Commission. Colleen Crocknall and Richard Cummings. I will let you choose who goes first. Colleen.
Would like to? Sure.
Okay.
All right, perfect. So those who don't know me, my name is Colleen Crockmall. I am running for Police Commission. Most of the time when I tell people I'm running for Police Commission, the first question I hear is why? And the reason is because I care about this town. Over the last several years, I've watched the police department, in my opinion, decline. I've seen a lot of changes that kind of worried me, both as a spouse to a former police officer in town, as a citizen, and as a coworker to many of the people in the police department. I work with them, on a daily basis almost. So over the last several years, things have changed dramatically, and as if you've read in my article, most specifically over the last 7 months, we've lost 4 police officers. We've lost 4 really great police officers who were a huge benefit to this town, and that was disappointing. And perhaps the most disappointing is that we haven't followed up with any of those officers. We didn't find out why they left Northwood. We haven't found out why we're not able to retain police officers here in town. And that was just concerning to me. We've, like I said, lost 4 officers in the last 7 months, 3 of which were full-timers, and very good chance we're going to lose another very soon. That leaves us with the chief, the sergeant, 2 officers, 2 full-time officers, and a part-time one right now, plus the school resource officer. So we're very understaffed in the town, and that to me was concerning. We're looking at hiring 3 brand new officers who haven't been to the academy. This means that we're going to be paying for their training. They're going to be going away for training for many months. It's going to be costly. It's 16 weeks for the academy, another 12 weeks for training, and that's after we get them up and running in town. So it's just very concerning to me, and the thing that I kept hearing from everybody that I talked to, whether it be officers or community members, is they just felt like our commission wasn't asking questions. It's a great commission, everybody cares about this town, but they felt like people needed to ask more questions. Why are we losing officers? Is it our work environment? Is it pay? I can give you guys a little bit of a hint from inside information. It's not pay. There's other considerations that we should be asking more questions about why it's happening. Again, we're not conducting exit interviews. The work environment, unfortunately, needs some help, and with a commission that's not asking more questions, it kind of leaves us in this unsafe situation that we've ended up with. So that's why I'm running for a police commission. I feel like there's a difference to be made I feel like asking more questions, looking for more answers, things like that are going to be what's going to make our police commission better. I think that our police department has some work that could be done, and I hope to be able to do that by asking those questions, not just kind of sitting back and doing as the chief says. So.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm getting close to my time. I was ready for it.
Okay. Questions? Colleen?
One of the big budget articles, warrant articles this year deals with the safety complex and setting monies aside to study safety complex, which will be something we'll find. Can you speak to that? And Richie also address the issue of the safety complex. And by the way, please know I'm Tom Chase. Keep talking, we can hear you. That's all right. Better than me.
Mr. Chase, good news, I can save you. Perfect. So I can't speak from the police commission standpoint because I'm not on it. I do think it's something that we should investigate as a town. I think it's worthwhile to put the money and effort into at least researching whether this would be beneficial for our town. Again, I'm not on the police commission. I can't answer how they feel about it, but I do think it's worth the research and the time into looking into it.
Other questions of Colleen? I don't see any hands or anything, so I guess, Richie, it's your turn.
Richard Cummings, good evening. I would like to thank the Friends of the Northwood Libraries and the Harvey Lake Women's Club for sponsoring tonight's Candidates Night. It has been a privilege to serve the citizens of Northwood as a police commissioner, and I appreciate the support that has been shown to me over the years. I seek your vote in March to continue to serve the community in this position. I'm a lifelong resident of Northwood, attended Cole Brown Academy, New Hampshire Technical Institute, and I'm a Vietnam veteran. I have served as chairman of the Recreation Commission, member and past president of the Saddleback Mountain Lions Club, and represented the Police Commission as a member of the Safety Complex Committee. Supporting local youth sports, particularly Little League teams, has been important to me for many years. If re-elected to the commission, I will continue to work together with my fellow commissioners to provide proper equipment and training to the officers, provide competitive pay and benefits in order to retain qualified personnel, and continue to update technology to ensure an efficient and cost-effective department that serves its citizens well. I ask for your vote for Northwood Police Commissioner on March 13th.
I suppose I'm supposed to be using this thing too. I'm telling everybody else to. So, questions of Rich?
Same question about the safety complex.
I definitely support the safety complex. We want to do a study and analyze it. We did this with surrounding towns on their complexes. I think the town and of course the fire department and police department will benefit.
Here's another question up back.
My name is Shirley Brackett, and I live at 278 Lakes Hill Road. Could you clarify the difference between the duties of the chief and a police commissioner? I don't understand why we need both.
The commission does the hiring, the firing of the police officers. It makes sure that the chief stays in line with his budget. It's an overseer of the chief.
And the chief can't do all that? I guess I'm confused.
Well, there's no reason to be confused.
Why? Because we're a small, I don't feel like we have a lot of crime and we're a big town.
Well, we are a small town, and we're a close town, and we're very fortunate. It's a wonderful town to live in.
There's not a lot of crime.
Oh, there's crime. Well, there's a lot of crime.
And maybe I'm not aware of it.
Right. There's crime, and crime is increasing. I don't have the statistics with me or anything. The town, it's been brought up for the town, whether they want the commission or not. I believe it's been brought up, for 2 years in a row, and the people support the commission. So I hope that answers your question.
I think so, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so it's something we need, it's not just filling another
I
spot.
think it's sort of, sorry, I don't know.
Go ahead.
I think it's sort of a checks and balance. Instead of putting all the power in the chief, I see the police commission as sort of a check and balance to make sure that our chief and our police department is doing the right thing. Unfortunately, some chiefs don't do the right thing, so I see it as more of a checks and balance. I mean, I'm not on the commission, you guys, you have been, but I think it's not necessarily, to micromanage or to control them, but just to make sure checks and balance that our police department is thriving, it's doing well, and that it's going in a good direction. I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Okay.
Dave Ruth, Route 4. Oh, no, it's not Route 4 anymore. First New Hampshire Turnpike. Is the police commission, like the school board, autonomous, that you don't report to the selectmen, or selectmen don't sit with you to help you make decisions? The commission makes a decision, the selectmen aren't involved?
That's correct, but we do work with the Board of Selectmen. It's a nice circle that's complete.
Yes.
Mike Moore, Genesee Pond Road. Since you're currently on the police commission, what's your take on why we're losing officers?
That's a very good question. With personnel issues, I really can't discuss, but I can say money is number one. And what needs to be done is a wage study. And this hasn't happened for a number of years. It will benefit all the employees of the town, the fire department, everyone. So, I'm not saying that's the only reason, I'm saying that's one of the main reasons.
Go ahead.
So in my multiple roles in this town, I can say that money is not the prime reason that most people are leaving. And unfortunately, commission's not aware why they're leaving because they're not conducting interviews. Even when officers are asking for them, they're not conducting interviews, which is, again, just some concern.
And may I say that the commission and the chief has an open door policy. If the officer is not happy with the chief or a decision, they are more than welcome to bring it to the commission. But it's the same as with the Board of Selectmen. There's an agenda to follow by.
Let me just follow up. I mean, I come from a business background, and if somebody leaves, you usually sit down and find out why. Why don't you guys do that?
Right, and there are reasons, but again, on the personnel, I just can't.
So you do talk to people who leave the department?
Pardon me? I most certainly talk to people.
You talk to people who leave the department and find out why they leave?
I'm well aware of, yes.
So,
I'm confused whether
Well,
you
there's no-
know or whether you think you know.
I know why people leave, and I just can't, under personnel, I
I'm
can't say.
not trying to get anything. So you actually do talk to them when they leave and find out why?
If not beforehand.
I can tell personally, just from speaking to the 4 officers who have left in the last 7 months, none of them have spoken to the commission because none of them were granted exit interviews except for with the chief. And quite often the chief brought to the commission a different reason as to why they were leaving. Blamed it on money quite often, so. But that's okay. We can hopefully change that going forward. We can't fix what's happened in the past, but I'm hopeful that we can change our commission a little bit and move forward and hopefully retain some police officers.
Other questions? If not, you can leave.
Thank you.
That you can leave the table. We've got a whole lot of uncontested positions. So I'm going to go to the school board where there is some more than one running. So Tim Jandaber, Amy Hanavan, and Brian Winslow. I don't see Tim here, so if the other two come forward, which they are.
Good evening, and thank you for coming out and showing such interest in our town, and thank you to the Harvey Lake Women's Club and to the Friends of the Library. And I'm sure Amy as well appreciates this opportunity to speak. My name is Brian Winslow. I moved to Northwood in 2009. I grew up in Deerfield, and my wife and I, when we bought our house, my wife grew up here in Northwood. We have 3 young children, and I think that's my first asset that I bring to the position of school board. I have our oldest of 3 is a kindergartner. I have many years ahead of me interacting with the school, and I want to be proud of the school that I send my children to. I want to be proud of the school that my neighbors send their children to, and I want a school that works for all of the children in Northwood and all the families in Northwood. In the past year, I've served on the budget committee here in town. I think it's important to be involved with the town, of course, but I found the position of budget committee to be very helpful to understand what taxpayers are asked to pay for, to get a line-by-line analysis of both the school budget and the town budget. And I think we have to respect if I'm a school board member, I think school board members have to respect the taxpayers and what we're asking them to do so that we can look everyone in the eye and say, you're getting a very good deal for your taxes with a great school where we're doing what we can as efficiently as we can. Probably the biggest asset that I bring to this position is that I'm a public school teacher myself. I'm on the front line between the school board where I work there, philosophy, their policies, and the classroom, the practical application of what they're asking us to do. And I have a pretty good sense, I feel, of what we're capable of doing as a school board and what's kind of maybe some desires that are a little bit unrealistic. I've served on the school board for the Deerfield Cooperative Preschool for 2 years. I was the vice chair and then the chair. The following year, during that time, we prepared the budgets, of course. We worked with our members on what they could afford and what they wanted. We had to make some tough decisions about what the school needed compared to what would be ideal to have and what we could afford, where we have to draw the line. I'd bring that same approach to the Northwood School Board. It's, of course, a much larger budget and a more intense position, but it's the same kind of approach where we have to take care of what we have to take care of, and we go for as much as we can that we want to have that's reasonable and fair to the taxpayers. During that time, I also oversaw the transition from the woman who started the school. She left her position as the head teacher. She was the only head teacher in the school and became a stay-at-home mom. And we hired a new head teacher and transitioned into, I guess, a new era with that school, which I'm very proud of. I think they're doing an excellent job there, and I think I was glad to be a part of that. I think Northwood deserves to have school board members who are trying to improve the school, who are trying to work with the community to make it a better place. I believe very strongly that good schools make for great communities. And I look forward to any questions you have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No warning.
I knew it was coming.
Amy?
I'm next, okay. Hi, I'm Amy Hanovan. I'll tell you a little bit about me. I grew up in upstate New York, in Syracuse. I lived there until I was about 25. And then I spent like 10 years traveling around the country with my husband, and we decided we wanted to come back and get closer, relatively close to our family in New York. So we settled in New Hampshire about 6.5 years ago. Since then, I've tried to commit myself to things involving the youth in the community because I have small children. My second child was born here. Started as a board member at the center school that is no longer there, but was next door. I was a board member there for a year and also their treasurer for 2 years. We oversaw the operation of the school. We paid employees. And I really learned a lot working with other members of the community. I'm also a member of the Northwood Recreation Commission. We're the ones who put on trick or treat and Easter egg hunts and all sorts of fun activities for the community. And we also started a nonprofit with Beth Boudreau and Dave Ruth in the fall to raise funds for a playground. We're working on a grant right now for that. We're really optimistic we could get something going within the next year. So I really decided to start to get involved now that my son is older at the elementary school. I've been going to many of the school board meetings, as many as my busy schedule allows with my 2 little kids. I think that that's been important. I've seen how they function. I've seen some of the decisions that have been made. I've seen areas where I think I can bring something else to the table. And I have, my youngest is going to start in the fall, so I'm going to be there for the long haul. So I hope if you give me the chance, I can continue to dedicate myself to the school. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Now it's open to questions. You can go either way. Are there questions for either candidate?
Jim Valancourt, 34 Cove Way. With Mr. Chase, I have had the honor of the last 9 months of being on the school board strategy committee. And we finished our last meeting last night. The school board should be getting the report the next meeting or two. One of the things that I'm really concerned about is I've worked from last March to last night to help develop this plan. And the worst thing that could happen to that plan for me is it gets put on a shelf and collects 3 inches of dust. So I'm not sure if you're aware that this process was in place, but what I am interested in hearing about is how you would feel about a strategic plan that was created not when you were on the school board, but how you would implement that.
I went to the public the forum that on the strategic planning commission held. I was very impressed with the way the strategic planning group is a commission. What should I say?
I don't know.
Committee, the strategic planning committee. I was very impressed with the way you were seeking community input. I think there was a lot of great conversation at that evening. I remember, I don't know the specifics, but I remember, I think 8 different domains that you were working on and seeking specific feedback on all of those areas, from creating a more positive culture, a more inviting culture for teachers, to improving student education, to improving facilities. And I think there were a lot of good ideas in the room. I'd be very happy to review it and discuss it and try to find, the best workable solutions from that document as we could. I think, like you said, I think it would be a shame if it just went onto a shelf. I think there's a lot of valuable information in there that I'd like to work with.
I completely agree. I also attended the public session to give input to the strategic plan. I thought that there were so many things that were raised that night that I hadn't even thought of that came from other members of the community. We just sat at tables and brainstormed, and then went around and read everyone else's brainstorms and got to see all their ideas. And I think it's invaluable, like the amount of information that we got from everybody. And I would never want that to not be used to make the school better. It's so much time and energy was put into it. I think it would be very important to use it moving forward.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions? Yes.
I will steal somebody else's thunder who asked a question before. Are you prepared for the time that's going to be involved in, a couple of meetings, 3 or 4 meetings a month, every other week? The times during the week when you're at a soccer game or in a lacrosse game, where the parents that have a complaint are going to come right up to you as a school board member thinking you're going to solve every problem on the field. Have you thought that out? Are you really prepared that there is going to be a lot of work, but it's work that you think is worth doing for your children and the rest of the children in town?
Absolutely. I've definitely had extensive conversations with my husband about our schedule and what life will be like, and I think it's worth, I wouldn't even call it a sacrifice, but just rearranging your life to make the commitment to be there and do what you have to do. Absolutely.
Yeah, myself as well. I am aware of the time involved with the position. Those of you that know my wife, I've married up. She's wonderful, and yeah, she's very supportive. I'd be there. I think one of the things I've really enjoyed about becoming a candidate is actually meeting a lot of people in town and discussing ideas for the school. I've met some wonderful people that I haven't met before. It's great. I look forward to, being accountable to my neighbors about my decisions and being open to what they have to say. And, I'd like to be able to look everyone in the eye when I see them and, explain why I voted the way that I did, because I believe it's in the best interest of our community. So.
Other questions? Linda?
Linda Smith, Old Turnpike Road. Like Mrs. Hanneman, I was educated I grew up in upstate New York and was educated in the New York school system, where a tremendous amount of money is put into the schools.
Wow.
And I'm appreciative of the education I received. In New Hampshire, there is not the state funding that there is in other areas. For those of us who are going toward our senior years and have concerns about that our income is not going to be what it was at your age, what innovative ideas do you have to provide and encourage a quality education while still trying to keep the budget from increasing year after year? And I'll just add one other comment, a personal comment. One thing that I was extremely troubled by a number of years ago was when Northwood School stopped having a gifted and talented program. And the reason it was like $500 or $1,000, it was taken out of the budget. What are some ways that we can encourage a quality education for all the students? And I know there's a lot of things, but I'm just wondering if you have any thoughts as far as balancing the budget as well as providing a quality education.
I think you just have to identify the things that need to be worked on. You're going to have to go through the budget line by line, which they do. I think they do a great job looking for things that maybe aren't working, looking for things that can be cut or trimmed. I know it's hard. We are on a one income. We've been on one income for 8 years, and we have student loans to pay back. And so I definitely do not want to increase or make tax bills go up. I'm going to learn a lot more when I'm on the board about what really needs to be done. I definitely don't agree with things like cutting programs like Gifted and Talented. If we can do more with the money that we're spending, holding teachers accountable, working on keeping the, curriculum tight and getting better performance out of the teachers and the students, then maybe the school can improve and we don't really need to spend more money, things like that.
I can think of two things that I think would probably help. We've had a lot of administrative turnover in the past 6 or 7 years, and I think by retaining your administrative team, they can refine and constantly improve the school environment. In the first year that a principal is there, they're learning everything. They're learning all the people. By like the 4th or 5th year, they're really refining and getting the best out of the people there. So I think keep working with the people that we have to get the best out of our school is step one. The other thing that comes to mind with your question about how to make improvements without raising the budget is to I'm pretty sure Northwood uses a WIN model, which stands for What I Need. It's in education jargon, it's a program called Response to Intervention, or RTI, and essentially it's an amount of time during the day, half an hour to an hour or so, where students are grouped by their needs and they're getting what they need, whether that's remedial help for reading or math, or that they're what we would call green level kids that are testing at grade level, proficient or beyond, and then they're getting some kind of an enrichment. I'd like to see that kind of program expand, using the talent that's in the school already, and thinking a little bit outside of the box of, you know, this is the schedule and this is where fourth graders need to be at 10:30 in the morning, and a little bit more of, for this amount of time, how can we do what's best for every student to bring to make the school better with no cost. So,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
You have a question over here?
John Boudreau, Main Street. Just in light of what's been going on in the news lately, without bringing up any details, what are your thoughts and ideas on improving our school safety? Obviously, we don't want to raise taxes, but we want to have safe schools. And we can't wait for the federal government to fix our problem, because it's the problem here in Northwood, and Northwood has to fix Northwood's problems. Just what are your ideas and thoughts on that?
Sure. I don't know the complete history of you know, what the school has done for security. I do think it would be important to discuss with the police department, with the fire department, and with the school administrative team what their concerns are with the building. I'm definitely not a security expert, so I would want to talk to people who could do a thorough walkthrough with a trained eye. To me, I'm a little bit concerned about like some of the glass windows by the main entrance and whatnot. But I would want to work with the community on, you know, as you said, it's a Northwood problem. It's not just a school problem. It's something we should all be looking at. Beyond that, I'm pretty sure they're practicing, you know, lockdown drills and in the school safety drills already. I'd expect that, you know, they're following a protocol per month, and, you know, so many drills per month and whatnot. I guess that's all I have to say about it.
I agree that there are probably things that we can do to improve the safety of the school, like the glass doors. The buzz-in system is not, I mean, it definitely has some holes in it. People can just walk right in if they want sometimes. I feel like that is not my area of expertise. I feel like, I don't know if it's something the police department could do, or another agency could come in and go through and find all of the areas that we're lacking, if they haven't done that already. I've heard about maybe teacher training, more extensive teacher training for what to do in that circumstance, which I think would be worth it to keep the kids safe. So I think anything that we need to do like that.
Hal, did you have a question?
I do. Brian, I tend to agree with you that it takes time for people to get into their job, understand what it is. I can speak to that directly as moderator. The first year, it was a real struggle. But there's other examples. For example, Co Brown, we've had a headmaster there for a long time, and they do very well. And I think you read articles in the paper, it's the same thing. We moved to town 10 years ago, and I think we're on our third, if not fourth, principal in that time. What do we need to do to retain the principal and the assistant principal?
Do you want to go first? Okay. As a board member, I think the board should be, first of all, acting professionally with the administrative team. I think they should be working with the administrative team. I think it's important to keep an open dialogue to address people's needs, to whether that be the amount of requests we have of administrators or salary, or concerns that they have in the school that aren't being met. I think it would be frustrating for anyone if they're saying, you know, these are the things that we need to work on, and then have that fall on deaf ears. So I think the board needs to be professional, and I think the board needs to be able to listen and take into consideration seriously the suggestions that are coming from the administrators.
I agree. There's been a lot of talk about culture and climate at Northwood School, creating a positive environment, listening to the concerns of the administration, having competitive salaries, making the teachers happy, listening to everyone's concerns and addressing them right away. And that's how we're going to retain people and offer consistency through the school. And I think things fall into place after that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions? Okay. Class dismissed. We have some candidates for Budget Committee. Dan McNally is not here. John Boudreau and Tom Chase. And Tom, there is a time limit.
Now, his chair has got the trap door, right, Robbie?
Excuse me?
His chair has got the trap door, right?
Age before beauty, my friend.
A lot of times politicians get up in front of audiences and said, I was born and raised in New Hampshire. I was not born and raised in New Hampshire. However, as I look around the room, I have lived in Northwood for 36 years and in New Hampshire for 41 or more, which is more than some of you who are alive. So I think I have a pretty good bead on the town. So listening to somebody talk about serving on the board of the Northwood Center School, I did that. I also served on the board of the Northwood Chamber of Commerce. Again, another institution in Northwood that is now defunct. But we will do better. And my service on the Budget Committee, as well as on the Conservation Commission, is one of the ways in which I give my time, because at this point in my life, I have a whole lot more time than I do money, but that's one of the ways in which I try and make a contribution to this town. And as I look around and see my other Budget Committee members, Ms. Bem, Ms. Dole, Mr. Winslow, this is how we serve the town. And if you're not doing it, Betty, I'm sorry, anybody else, Michael, never start doing that. John Boudreau. That's one of the ways we give to this town. And I'm happy to serve again, if you will be so kind as to re-elect me.
Boy, record! That has got to be a record. John?
I'm glad I'm not running against you. Hi, my name's John Boudreau. I've been serving on the Budget Committee, I think, is it 4 years now? Because I did a short term and then I got reelected, so 4 years. I'm also a volunteer fireman in town. I'm also the animal control officer. And what else do I do? I'm on the Budget Committee, serving. Yeah, I have a real job. I love serving the town. I love doing things for the Northwood. I think Northwood is a great town. I've been in Northwood now for about 5 years. I met my beautiful wife over there. She forced me out of Pittsfield, made me move with her. So for a living, I'm a security officer at a nuclear power plant. I really love serving the community. I bring to the Budget Committee a 20-plus year background on working for municipalities, and I think I've been able to give a good insight on being the guy on the other side of the Budget Committee, asking for things and getting told no or having to explain why I need something. I've been there as a department head with a small town in Oakland, Maine. it's real fun working with this guy next to me. He's a great guy, and everybody on, yeah, I know, I'm just saying that because it sounds good. Learned that in a class I took. No. The rest of the budget committee, these people really, really work hard, and they're dedicated to their cause. And Ginger has taught me, just by sitting across from her, listening to her, I've learned a lot as a budget, because I came in not really knowing how a budget committee works, and I've really learned a lot from them. Unfortunately, I've sustained an injury, and I've been out for quite some time, but I'm almost back. But I look forward to getting back and getting to serve you guys again in that capacity. Thank you.
Very good.
And there is a seat
Questions?
open. If any-
Tom?
You want to sit?
No questions? They can leave. I don't, supervisors of the checklist, it's all write-ins. There's no names to put up. Treasurer for the school, Betsy Coleman. I don't see Betsy here. School clerk is Penny Hempel. I don't see her here. Road agent, Charles Pease. He's not here. Town clerk, tax collector, Savannah Odette.
Hello, everybody. I am totally out of my comfort zone, but I'll do the best that I can. So for those of you who don't know me, or if I haven't met you yet, hi, I'm Savannah Odette, and I register your vehicles. I collect taxes. I'm the deputy town clerk tax collector. I've been in this position for just under a year and a half. I never envisioned myself in this chair. I just wanted a part-time job to better my quality of life, work balance with being a mom and being able to work. And I just stumbled upon the town, and here I am. I've learned so much in this year and a half, so much more than I ever thought I could learn. And I have so much more learning to do, and I'm very excited. I know that I have big shoes to fill, but luckily I have big feet, and I know I can handle it. I work by myself once a week, so I run the office by myself and collect all of the money and balance all the reports and do all. Today, for an example, I brought in $6,000 for the town. Yesterday was $9,000, so it's like we have a really big role here in town, and I take pride in that. During my time, I've definitely laid out a pretty strong foundation for myself to set myself up for success. And with that, I'm gonna fly. And I appreciate your support and your vote, and also your patience, because I'm not gonna be perfect at it. I know you're used to Judy. But I know I can do it, and it's just gonna take time, and I'm ready to learn.
Do we have any questions?
I have a question. Can I make a statement? As the animal control officer, I had to work with her directly, and we haven't had an active animal control officer for a couple of years, so I got caught up on some things like dog registrations, and people were not happy when I showed up to give them a fine. She caught the blunt of that, and she handled it very, very well. She's an outstanding employee. I mean, we would hurt the town if we didn't vote for her. That's all.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? How long do I get to pay my tax bill?
Till the due date.
Very good, thank you, Savannah.
Thank you, everybody.
Library trustee, Betty Smith.
I've been a library trustee for 5 years now. The first time I was elected, it was for a 2-year term, and then I put my hand up again, and I'm doing it once again. I enjoy being on the library trustees. I think we've done a lot with the library. The latest thing that we've done, aside from all the programs and everything, is after many years of trying to work it out, we now have an office for our director. It's something that's been needed for a long time. And I'm also very proud of the fact that we were managed to do it ourselves without any extra tax support. So I would appreciate your vote so I can continue to work with the library trustees.
Betty, as long as you're there, you might as well do double duty, because you're running for planning board too.
Yeah.
So,
And so is Bob.
well, he's off by himself, but I'm going to put you on the hot seat all at once. So, and Tom might pull the trap door, so be careful. So, if you on planning board, do you have anything to say for that?
I've been on the planning board for 3 years, and it's been a process and a learning experience. I think I've learned a lot. I still need to learn some more, but I would like to continue on the board to support responsible development without harming our environment or our beautiful lakes. And I would also like people to remember that your right to do what you want with your property ends at the next person's property. And if what you want to do on your property is going to impinge on that, then it don't work. And we need to maintain a balance between people's right to do what they want with their land and the community's rights. And I would like to have your vote.
Okay, now I'm going to switch again. Does anybody have a question of Betty as far as library trustee? No questions? Mr. Strobel, you get the other hot seat. And you can state your case, then both of you can take the fireworks.
Okay. I'm Bob Strobel. I live on Old Canterbury Road. I've been, well, this would be my 4th term on planning board. Of the 3 terms, I've been chair for 8.5 years.
And you're doing a fine job.
Thank you. One of the things I enjoy about planning board is being able to look to the future and figure out, based on the last however many years, last 10, last 20, 10 since I've been in town, and predicting out where the town both is going and where we would like it to go. Part of that process when I came in was updating the master plan. That's been, the state recommends that we do it every 8 years. It's been, I think it was 12. The last one was 1994 when the town had updated, no, 2004, sorry. When the town had updated, we're still in the process of doing that. I'm the longest serving member of the board now. That wasn't the case last time. And I'd like to take some of that experience of the master plan update, the capital improvements program, the public safety complex study committee, all of which I've served on. There's another one in there somewhere. And continue that experience and knowledge for another term. We have, I'm trying to think of, if Betty and I are reelected, and since we ran together the last time, she got more votes than I did. I think Hal is the youngest or least experienced member of the board, but everybody has served at least one term. That's great for getting your feet wet, but I'd like to, my experience when I lived in Deerfield was that there were a couple very long-term members and a bunch of short-term members. And the very long-term ones were allowed, essentially helped guide the process, and you could call it almost the elder statesman. And I hate to use that term, elder statesman, but I guess that's the role I see of myself now. So I'd like to continue, and I'd appreciate your vote.
Okay. Any questions?
Can I ask?
Either one?
Are there, maybe you could ask if there are any questions about the zoning amendments?
This is not a town meeting.
Okay.
This is a candidates' night.
Good enough. You can see me afterward if there's any questions.
Mr. Valancourt?
You already know my name. It's not good, huh? You know that I'm a big proponent, I've always been a proponent in town about having a plan and a forecast. So you know how excited I was when the planning board picked up the responsibility of a capital expense plan. So my question is, are you both prepared to support that with a new town administrator and to dovetail it even tighter in with the budgeting process? And what are your thoughts about how to do that?
You want to go first?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you go first.
I go first? Okay. Well, let me give you a little bit of the history on the CIP. I was chair of the subcommittee, and I essentially wrote it because we lost our town administrator who was also on that during the process. This is the first year that we've had the CIP, and according to town staff, this is the first time that the planning board has actually adopted a CIP. There have been ones developed in the past, but they were never adopted. That's one of the reasons why I would like to serve another term, is that the CIP process is largely contained in my brain and in documents, and that is not a good solution for long-term planning. I'd like to further develop the relationship between the budget committee, the board of selectmen, the various town departments, so that getting information from the town put into the CIP is a matter of routine and not just me saying, recreation committee, you need to get your information in, selectmen, et cetera, et cetera. But my colleagues from other towns have advised me that it's typically a 3-year process for getting the CIP established and getting the kinks worked out. We're on year 1. And I'm sure your Hawkeye with the red pencil will be giving me some reviews.
Yes, guaranteed.
I guess you did well for both of us.
Okay. Well, Betty had to. Betty had to adopt it and review it. So.
And I would like to continue to work on it.
Other questions? If not, I see we have one left that I think, unless there's somebody running for something that I don't know about. Mr. John Schlang, you're up. And this is for the cemetery trustee.
How could we wait so long for this? I'm John Schlang. I've lived in Northwood since I have to go through that spoiled for you, since 1970. And I've worked in town a lot, and I was in the military for 29 years, and that's why the cemetery committee asked me to join on, that I would have some ties to the military, so the people that died in town that had military connections and had questions about rights and privileges and flags and markers and things like that, I would be able to either find out or know for them. So I'm a life member of the VFW, a life member of the DAV, and the commander of the American Legion. I also know of quite a few people that are still in the military, so we have a lot of options, and I do go to the VA and know a lot of folks there. So That's why I'm on the cemetery committee. It's been 9 years. I'm going to keep doing it. Hopefully, that if anyone has any questions, the military background have worries or concerns about things at the cemetery, I'll be able to help you out.
Questions?
People think I'm Tom Chase. This is not good. So I'm going to remind you again of Jim Valancourt. That's Tom Chase over there. You know that I'm a trustee of the trust fund, and we work closely together because we pay all your bills. That was supposed to be fun. One of the things that concerns me is the perpetual care fee that people pay. Is the cemetery committee done an analysis of whether that is an appropriate fee to keep us funded into the future? If not, are you willing to work with the trustees of the trust funds to do that kind of analysis to figure out?
Absolutely. We really need to get on top of that. We haven't been as busy as we should have about that kind of business. We've been kind of going along with the prices that we've had. It's so hard now to run the cemeteries, believe it or not, is to find people to mow and clean up. It's one of those jobs that kids used to do when I was a kid. A lot of kids mowed cemeteries, but now we have trouble even finding that. So we're spending more money to get somebody to come in and keep the cemeteries nice, especially for Memorial Day and the special holiday things. It's an issue just getting help. But we do need to spend more time and get that straightened out, because we should be able to get more money to come in, because perpetual care has got to be going up.
Yeah, thank you, John.
Lucy?
I, Lucy Edwards, Old Mountain Road. I noticed on my official ballot that I got from Judy, that there are the cemetery trustee for 3 years, vote for 3, and we only have Mr. Schlang on this. Does that mean that you will be the only cemetery trustee?
No, there's already members that are not up for election that are.
Oh, might be an error then? Because it is an error? Okay. Okay, well, I was a little concerned.
Me too.
Thank you, John.
Yes, ma'am.
Linda?
Mr. Moderator, if we're finished, may I make a public service announcement that the town reports are in and there's boxes in the back if anyone would like to take one home.
Any other questions? If not, you may leave. If not, I thank the library for sponsoring this tonight, the Friends of the Library and so forth, the ones that sponsored it. Appreciate it. And thank you all you candidates who came and made your case. It's important. And it's good to have you come out and state why you are running for these offices. Again, thank you very much, and good night.